Thanks very much for coming along. Can everyone see and hear okay, first of all? Yeah, cool. Thanks so much for coming along to Tin Roof. We were totally unprepared for the fact that people might actually come to this workshop, so it really means a lot that you guys have all shown up. Bit of housekeeping, bathrooms just through there, and there's tea and coffee available. And if there's a fire, then just leave through that door. Also, if you've not been at Tin Roof before, then you're very, very welcome. And if you'd like to find out a bit more about what we do, then feel free to stick around at the end and leave your email address if you'd like to join the mailing list. Just a wee overview of what this is going to look like. We've got, obviously, welcome. I'm going to chat through a bit about why I thought we should do this workshop in the first place. Talk a bit about making money, registering as self-employed, some tips on being self-employed, and some facts about tax and filling in a tax return and thinking about what you could then do after this workshop. I realise that it can be a really dry subject, so I'm going to try and keep it interesting. Feel free to ask questions. I'm not an HMRC expert though, so I might not know, but hopefully I can help a little bit. So just to introduce myself, if you don't know me, I'm Jo, and I'm one of the artists here at Tin Roof and helped set it up back in 2010. So I graduated in 2009 from Time-Based Art and Digital Film, and I'm just going to tell you a few of the things that I've done since then, not as a kind of way of boasting, but just to let you know that it's not that hard. But so I had an artist residency at Fife Contemporary Arts and Crafts. I was a Venice invigilator for the Biennale. I was artist in residence for Pure Media UK. I was a filmmaker for NHS Tayside. I'm currently a youth arts worker at Hot Chocolate Trust, which is an employed job. I've done various freelance film, photography and workshop facilitation jobs. Part of setting up Tin Roof in 2010, and I've had a few exhibitions, including a solo show with Nomas Projects, various shows here at Tin Roof as part of the ongoing members shows that we do. I had a show with Peter Mansfield as part of the Documenting Hilltown project in 2012, and I had a self-initiated solo show this year in Tin Roof. All of those things, apart from my job at Hot Chocolate Trust, are self-employed, so it gives you an idea of the breadth of what that can actually be. A little bit about Tin Roof. Some of you are part of Tin Roof, so sorry for boring you with this. But so it was founded in 2010 by graduates from DJ CAD, basically as a response to the growing need for artists' space and facilities within the city. We started out as a collective, and then we formed the studios here in 2011. We currently provide studios for 24 artists, including 2 interns. And we run exhibition space for use by members of the public, and we also host our own events here. So again, if you're interested in having any kind of event or show, please let us know. We'd be really happy to do so. Our aim is to help build Dundee's artistic community by providing opportunities for artists to develop and make art, and for public engagement in art. So hence why we're doing this as well. I'm going to kind of embarrass you a little bit, because I think this is an opportunity to do a bit of networking as well. So I'm just going to ask everyone to say who they are and maybe a little bit about what they do, if that's okay. Do you want to start, and we'll just go round? So hearing what you're all doing, I'm going to try and shape some of what I say to fit, but I'm sorry if I can't cover everything, but hopefully this is the start of something. The reason that I wanted to run this workshop was I get asked quite a lot about being self-employed, and I see a lot of artists struggling with the concept of being self-employed. It's safe to say we generally kind of shy away from the idea of having an overtly commercial practice, and we don't really see ourselves as necessarily setting up business or enterprises, but it's like a part of our soul, or part of our life that we want to continue. And it's probably not a reason that any of us went into our form of art in the first place, as probably our teachers and guidance teachers and careers advisors and parents frequently reminded us. I think it's important for us to know a wee bit about what being self-employed actually means and how we can use it to help sustain our practice and hopefully avoid working full-time in retail our entire careers to fund what we do as artists. There are a number of great resources out there aimed at helping people to become self-employed and set up their own businesses, and many of them are really worth checking out. So the Cultural Enterprise Office offers a monthly webinar, which I recommend that you all do if you haven't done so already. They also have a contact at the DCA who you can book one-to-one appointments with, and she will talk you through everything from writing a business plan to what you actually feel like you even do in the first place. Or if you have any sort of more enterprising ideas, she can be really helpful. So yeah, get in touch with them. The only restriction with that is you can't be currently in education, so it has to be after you've left college. Yeah, the Prince's Trust, also worth checking out. Again, there's a restriction with that. They're up to the age of 30. So I think it's 16 to 30. You can go and be part of their enterprise program. They will take you through lots of different things, such as making a business plan. They've got an enterprise startup where they'll match you up with a mentor, and they also have some startup funding. So if you have quite a solid idea for a business, that is a really good way to go. But again, the kind of business mindset is quite prevalent within that particular organisation. There's also Business Gateway, and again, they're very much the enterprise kind of direction, and they'll help you through paperwork. Like Tin Roof did a bunch of workshops with them where we learned how to just do basic bookkeeping, and we're all still rubbish at it, but hopefully we can keep going with that. But yeah, all their things are also free, so just check out the website. They can be quite helpful. But like I said, I wanted to run this workshop because I recognise that artists don't necessarily fit into that enterprise model as neatly, or we have different motivations to why we do what we do. So, next slide. Making money as an artist, obviously it's not a cash cow. We can't just completely, expect ourselves to be millionaires by the end of the day. But what I thought would be really good is if we can have a think as a group. If you guys have any particular ideas of how you can make money as an artist, and I will write them down. So just shout out ideas. Yeah.
I'm working with different organizations on workshops.
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah.
Busing.
I hadn't thought that was so good. Anything else?
Paid residencies.
Time for funding. Yep. This is where my spelling fails me. Any ideas? Contest, yeah. Good competition. Yeah. Just to add a couple of things, you can also be a visiting lecturer, especially if you have a master's. What else have I got? I've just put services. Don't ask. And yeah, I guess within residencies, there's like artist fees within a lot of exhibitions and publications if you take part in things like that. So if you make money in any of those ways, even if you're a student, you legally should be self-employed, registered with HMRC. Some organisations do require you to prove that you're self-employed, so they will ask you for a self-employed reference number. So for example, my first residency with Fife Contemporary Arts and Crafts wouldn't pay me until I supplied them with my self-employed reference number. However, some places don't really ask and maybe don't really care. But what I guess I really want to communicate is that it is worth your time doing that, because 9 times out of 10 you'll actually get something back at the end of the year as opposed to paying anything out. Yeah, so registering as self-employed is not scary. It's a really easy process. You fill in a form on the HMRC website. That's the list, what do you call it, link there. All you need to provide is a national insurance number, your personal details such as your address, and a short description of what you do or the nature of your business. Now, for me, I'm pretty sure all I put was artist. You don't need to necessarily go into loads of detail of what it is that you do. It doesn't take much more than about 15 minutes, and while you're setting up your form, you'll go through what's called the Government Gateway, which sets you up with all the kind of numbers and things that you need to log on to your account. And if any of you are like, yep, I should probably register as self-employed, and you want to stick around, I'm happy to set the form up at the end, and you can do it, and I can give you a hand if you want. I think I've got a copy of the form. Yeah, so that's what it looks like. You just say, I want to tell HMRC that I'm in business and need to register. And then it takes you through everything that you need to know. Kind of boring, but really doesn't take that long. And once you've done that, they'll send you out everything that you need to fill in, and all the sort of bump and your reference number and things like that. So once you're registered as self-employed, you need to keep records of your income and spending and complete a tax return every year. It sounds ominous, but I probably spend about an hour a month doing that. It's not a huge amount of work. So I've got some key pieces of advice for once you are self-employed. So make sure you invoice everyone that is paying you. So try and have a consistent approach with that. Just say, make sure it's got your name and address on it, for example, and the date, date everything. If you leave a paper trail, then if you ever get audited by the government, then you're not going to be in trouble. But I've not been so far, fingers crossed. Keep any receipts that you incur, and that can include things like train tickets. If you want to go and see an amazing show at the Fringe, you can count that as an expense. Honestly, if it builds up your business, if it builds up your artistic practice, then count it as an expense. Don't leave the tax return to the last minute, although it normally only takes a couple of hours. And if you keep notes of any payments you make to charity, because that again is tax deductible, although I don't totally know what that means, but you always get asked to put any payments you make to charity. So if you've got regular payments set up, then just keep a note of them. If you are employed, then make sure you keep your pay slips and try and make sure you keep your P100, which you get every year. That has all the details of how much tax you've already paid, and your total income, which means you don't have to sift through all your pay slips and add it up at the end of the year. And if you don't get a P100 from your employer, then you should ask for one, because they legally should give you one. Yeah, sorry, I know this is a wee bit dry, but let's just rattle through it. Yeah, that's an example of an invoice that I've given an employer. So just has all the details they need to know. Oh, yeah. So some fun tax facts, just what you want to know. Yeah, so this is just boring information that you do need to know about tax. So tax year, 6th of April to 5th of April. Normally it's fine to do 1st of April to 31st of March as your general tax year. All that means is that you're counting from that date until that date, and then it keeps it nice and neat. You need to complete your tax return by the end of January if you're doing it online, and by the year after your tax year ends. So for the current tax year, obviously it'll be 31st of January 2017 that you'll need to fill it in. So if you registered as self-employed right now, you wouldn't have to do a tax return until a year and a half from now. Yeah, you can file a tax return online, which is much more straightforward, or you can do it a paper copy, but then that means you kind of have to work everything out yourself, whereas the online form does it all for you. You can be employed and self-employed at the same time. It's a popular misconception, but if you are employed and you register as self-employed, you're much more likely to be paying, well, anyone who's employed is quite likely to be paying too much tax, just the way that the tax system works. So I shouldn't advertise this because it might not necessarily happen, but every single time I've done my tax return since 2009, I've got at least £200 at the end, which in January obviously is amazing because I've paid too much tax in my employed jobs. So it's definitely worth doing. Yeah, so the tax threshold has gone up to 10,600, which looks like an insane amount to me. So if you earn more than that, you will start being taxed, including your employed job. Yeah, you can still claim benefits and tax credits if you're self-employed, and often if you are claiming benefits and you have a good record of your self-employed income and outcome, that can really help them give you the best service and make sure you get enough money. And you can be a student and be self-employed. There's less kind of direct resources available to you, but in terms of government support, etc. But you can go down that path while you are a student. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so just a few things about filing a tax return. It sounds painful, but doesn't have to be. So just remember that your total income minus your total expenses is your profit, and then your profit minus 10,600 is your taxable income. So most of the time, the profit isn't even, well, you could be really lucky and have all the money that none of us get, but it's quite likely that that taxable income number isn't going to be very high. Keep your P100. Yeah, I'd be happy to help if you would like some support with your tax return when it comes up. Honestly, like, I can't emphasize enough, it's not that difficult, but like, I'm one of the most disorganized people I know, and I can do it. So, but yeah, if you would like some help with that, please just come and let me know. So yeah, I was going to think a wee bit about artist expenses, and if we could just again do the same thing and generate some of what you guys think count as artist expenses. Yeah, so fire some ideas at me. Materials, yep. Again, I can't spell. Cool, I think that's right. Anything else? Studio rent, yeah. Sorry, someone else? Software.
Advertising?
Yep. Equipment. Yeah. So I'll just put attending. Yep. Oh, that's a fun one. That's just reminded me, actually. If you want to find out a bit more about insurance, check out either the Artists Union or AN, because they both have like insurance packages that are really good, and they also have like tons of opportunities. Like once you join and you, I can't remember how much it is. It's not a lot. It's like £30 a year or something. Okay, yeah. Yeah, certainly for AN. I can't remember what the Artists Union one is, but yeah. So they'll give you like various degrees of insurance and also like they'll send you out like amazing stuff that you can then do, which you wouldn't get access to otherwise. But yeah, that's a good one, and definitely worth having if you're running any kind of public engagement. Is there something else? Yeah, if you work from home, you can count some of your rent and some of your sort of electricity or gas bills towards a tax deductible expense. So if you say you work, you can do a rough guess, but say you worked like 2 days a week from your own house, you could work that out, how much of a percentage that was of your rent and your electric and stuff. But essentially, all this stuff, if you take that away from all of this, you're left with your profit. So it is legitimate to kind of keep finding those things that you do that can maintain your practice and be like, okay, I do that as well, and I do that, and I do that. All those things maintain my practice. So don't be afraid to keep adding stuff to that list. I mean, obviously live within your own means, but all of them count as a legitimate business expense. And the other thing to remember is all of this, the money that you make from all of this, plus the money that you make from any employed jobs that you do, minus all of this, is your taxable income. So if you've paid too much tax from your employer, then yeah, it means that you'll get it back because you've basically done all the maths for them. I know this is, yeah, again, it's kind of dry, but yeah, next slide. Oh yeah, I've done that one. Everything is good. Okay, some next steps. I'm just going to wrap up, but I think if anyone's got any questions or wants to kind of start a discussion or chat to each other, then we can maybe have an opportunity for that. But I just thought some next steps could be that maybe you leave here to register as self-employed. You could create a basic business plan or a sort of dream plan if you don't want to use the word business, but what do you want to achieve artistically? What's your main aim? Make steps to proactively seek out opportunities that excite you. And I would say, I really emphasize, don't dilute what you feel is your practice in order to make money. It's not necessary. Yeah, do what you love, do what you really feel excited by. And if you get asked to do, something that you think, actually that doesn't suit my practice, don't do it. Just, you don't have to. Yeah, maybe set out a day a month to do your admin. Like I said, it probably takes an hour or whatever, so it's not that much. Take time to write a really good artist statement and think about what defines you, what is the core service that you feel, or not, I shouldn't say service, what's the core thing that you do. And consider making yourself a website or update your current website. And there are just a few wee suggestions that I've got. The other thing I was going to say was, this is the first time that Tin Roof has run anything like this, so if you feel that maybe I've not covered things that you thought were the reason that you came, you can suggest that and we can maybe run more workshops. So I guess today was really about the basics of the sort of more admin side of it. But if you think, right, we need to do something about promotion or we need to do something about press and marketing, please just say, because we are basically, I don't know, Tin Roof's meant to be facilitating opportunities for us, so we can do that if he's one. And that's me. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer or try to answer, or if you want to stick around and do any of the paperwork today, that's totally fine. Has anyone got anything you'd like to add?
Would you suggest having